Greetings. My name is Bongsen Jefferson, and you are watching Bongsen Speaks. South Africa is currently going through a significant and a complex political moment. Across the country, there are increasing discussions around leadership, governance, economic pressure, and the overall direction of the nation. We are seeing debates on police, questions around accountability, and growing expectations from citizens. But beyond the headlines, beyond the daily news cycle, what is really happening beneath the surface? Today, we take a calm, structured, and strategic look at the current political landscape in South Africa, not from a position of emotion, but from a position of understanding. South Africa's political system is no longer operating in the same way it did in previous years. For a long time, the country experienced a relatively stable political structure dominated by a single major political force. However, over time, that structure has begun to change. We are now seeing increased political competition, the rise of smaller parties, fragmentation of voter support, and more dynamic political engagement. This transition is significant. It means that political power is no longer concentrated in one place. Instead, it is becoming more distributed across multiple sectors. This kind of transition is not unusual globally. Many democracies go through similar phases as society evolves. However, during this period, uncertainty can increase because when power is distributed, decision-making becomes more complex. One of the clearest signs of this transition is the rise of coalition politics. Coalition governments occur when no single party has enough support to govern alone, and therefore multiple parties must come together and to form a government. This introduces a new political dynamic. On one hand, coalition politics can be positive. It allows more voices to be represented, it encourages negotiations, and it can prevent dominance by a single entity. But on the other hand, it also introduces challenges. Decision-making becomes slower, agreement must be constantly maintained, and disagreement can lead to instability. We have already seen examples where coalition arrangements face internal pressure and disagreement or restructuring. This is necessarily a weakness. It is part of a maturity political system. However, it is required strong leadership, discipline, and clear communication. At the same time, the political environment cannot be separated from the economic reality. South Africa is currently facing a number of economic challenges. These include high level of unemployment, pressure on small and medium business, energy challenging, and slower economic growth. When economic pressure increases, political pressure also increases because citizens begin to ask, are policy effective? Is leadership delivering results? What direction is the country taking? Economic conditions often shape political outcomes. If the economy improves, political stability tends to strengthen. If the economy struggles, political tension tends to rise. Another key factor shaping South Africa politics today is public trust. Across communities, there is a growing demand for accountability, transparency, and effective service delivery. Citizens are no longer passive observers. They are more informed, more engaged, and more willing to express their concern. This creates a new political environment. Leadership is no longer judged only during election. It is judged continuously. Public trust has become one of the most important forms of political capital. And once trust is weakening, it becomes difficult to rebuild. Another important dimension is the performance of institutions. Institutions are the structures that support governance. Municipality public services, regulatory bodies. When the institutions function effectively, they create stability and confidence. When they face challenges, the impact is felt directly by the citizen. This places additional pressure on political leadership to strengthen system, improve efficiency, and ensure delivery. South Africa's politics and economic direction is also influenced by its position in the global system. The country maintains relationships with the major global economics, regional partners, and emerging global structures. This creates both opportunity and responsibility. Global shift, whether economic or geopolitical, can influence domestic conditions. When we bring all these elements together, a clear pattern emerges. South Africa is not a simple facing challenges. It is undergoing a transformation. Power is becoming more distributed, politics is becoming more competitive, and the governance is becoming more complex. South African politics today reflects a country that is evolving. The key question is not whether changes is happening, but how that change will be managed. Because ultimately, the direction of leadership, governance, and police will shape the future of the nation. In addition to this development, there are several other factors shaping the current political environment. One important dimension is the role of the young people in South Africa. The country has a large and growing youth population, and this group is becoming increasingly influential in shaping political conversation. Young people are more connected, more informed, and more expressive than previous generations. They are engaging through digital platforms, communication discussions, and civic participation. At the same time, they are also facing significant challenges, particularly around unemployment and access opportunity. This creates a situation where expectations are high and patience is limited. Another factor is the involvement of role of communication. Information now moves rapidly. Narratives can form and change within a very short period of time. This makes political communication more immediate but also more complex. Leaders must now navigate a landscape where perspective can shift quickly. At the same time, misinformation can create confusion, which makes accurate communication even more important. We are also witnessing a strong connection between governance and service delivery. For many citizens, politics are experienced through daily realities: water, electricity, infrastructure, public services. Municipality performance play a critical role. When a system functions well, confidence increases. When they struggle, pressure grows. Another important aspect is accountability. There is an increasing focus on oversight, governance, standard, and institution responsibility. This shapes how leaders is evaluated and how decisions are scrutinized. At the same time, South Africa operates within a broader regional context. The country is engaged with African partners, economic alliances, and regional structures. This adds another layer to the political landscape. When we consider all of this together, it becomes clear South Africa is navigating a period of transition that is both complex and significant. Ultimately, the future of South African politics will depend on the ability to adapt to change. This includes leadership, institutions, and citizens alike. At the same time, another critical dimension that cannot be ignored is the role of economic inclusion. Because beyond the police debates and the political positioning, the life reality of many citizens remains shaped by access to opportunities. Questions around inequality, job creation, and economic participation are becoming central to the national conversation. And this places an increasing pressure on both government and the private sector to find sustainable solutions. Because long-term sustainability is not only built through governance, it is built through opportunity. In addition to this, we are also seeing a shift in expectation around leadership itself. Leadership is no longer defined only by position or authority. It is increasingly defined by delivery, credibility, and consistency. Citizens are paying closer attention to outcomes, not just promises. And this is reshaping the standard to which leaders are held. Another important trend is the growing importance of local governance. While national politics often dominates headlines, it is at the local level where governance is felt most directly. Municipality decision, service delivery, and local leadership play a critical role in shaping daily life. This means that the strength of local institutions will increasingly determine public confidence in a broader system. At the same time, we must also recognize that transformation is not a linear process. There will be a progress, but there will also be setbacks, moments of stability and moments of uncertainty. The key is not to expect a perfect transition, but to understand the direction of movement. And when we step back and look at the bigger picture, it becomes clear that South Africa is at the defining moment, a moment where decisions, priorities, and leadership choices will have long-term consequences, because the system being shaped today will influence the country's trajectory for years to come. The key question remains, how will these forces come together to shape the next phase of the country's development? Thank you for watching. My name is Mbongiseni Chapter Sam, and this is Mbongiseni Speaks.